The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and with that comes, I think, a lot of intrigue as we have some pretty good series here in round number one. Let's start with the All-Canadian matchup in the Eastern Conference, as the Ottawa Senators, really good story, taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. And honestly, Ottawa, while being a wildcard team, I do think is a team that needs to be taken seriously. Allmark can steal a game, and I do think Brady Tkachuk just has it in him to just say, hey, you know what? Don't feel like losing today, so we're not going to lose. And we saw that at the Four Nations, what he can do. A lot of the secondary stats actually do point Ottawa's way when you look at Corsi for percentage. Excuse me. Expected goals for percentage. Both of those went to Ottawa this year, and they were 3-0 against the Maple Leafs. But really, when you look at kind of how these teams stack up, Toronto still should win this series. Toronto has, I think, with all due respect to Ottawa, because I like this Ottawa team quite a bit, but Toronto just has more talent than they do, and not by an insignificant margin, I don't believe. So when you look at how this can all stack up, that should win the day. The big key is going to be in goal. Stolarz has been really good for the Leafs in the back part of the season here, but we've seen that before. Right? Like we have seen oh yeah, no, everything's fine. Everything's going all right. He is locked in on this. And then it doesn't go well for them. So I think that is obviously, like if that happens, then they're screwed. Sorry. I'm very choked up about it, apparently. But I do think that overall, Toronto wins this series. I think that there will be a moment where it's like, oh no, like this series is tied at 2. Like what are we doing here? Ultimately, I think the Leafs prevail. I have Toronto in 6, which you can get, by the way, at plus 415. Another little prop that I like on this one, I have Matthew Tkachuk at over 2.5 goals right now at plus 125. Moving to another this one, instead of interprovincial, it is interstate, as it is the Tampa Bay Lightning as the 2 seed in the Atlantic, getting home ice advantage against the Florida Panthers going into that matchup. Both of these teams, a ton of experience. Both of these teams have a bunch of game changers on their team, difference makers, if you will, and both teams have guys that can play at just a very, very, very high level. Again, the fancy stats do go the way of Tampa Bay, but the Florida Panthers dealing with injury issues and things like that this season, their secondary numbers, I don't think, really express how good this team will be as this series goes along. This series is going to be absolutely incredible. I can't wait. I do think that the difference is going to be Florida getting Matthew Tkachuk and Aaron Ekblad back at some point in this series. So I just feel like, again, the talent on Florida just slightly outweighs that of the Tampa Bay Lightning. But this series is going to be great. I have it Panthers in 7, which you can get right now at plus 500. The Washington Capitals taking on the Montreal Canadiens. Washington, if you go back to our preview episode, really liked Montreal and had them as a playoff team, so that took the scenic route to get there, but that ended up being a pretty good call on our end, and a profitable one, if you will. But Washington, now that we're here, Washington's a better hockey team, right? Like the Capitals offense, obviously a lot focused on Ovechkin, but they have a few guys that can put the puck in the net, and just overall, I feel like the Habs are a step behind the Capitals in every way. Montreal has a lot that you can be excited about, but the Capitals have a lot of guys that are just quite good. So I think Washington ends up coming out on the winning side of this. I actually have the Caps sweeping. I have Washington in 4, which you can get right now at plus 600. Carolina taking on the New Jersey Devils. I don't think the Canes get enough credit for how good they are. I didn't like how they handled the offseason for one, although I do think they recovered pretty well. I didn't love how they handled the Rantanen situation for this time of year. I think that they could use a Rantanen still. But this is still a very good hockey team. They had the best Corsi for percentage in the National Hockey League this season, as well as the best expected goals for percentage. The Devils were top 10 in both of those as well. They've been beaten up quite a bit as of late. The real key in this one is Carolina's goaltending is not a situation that you can trust. But I don't know if the Devils is either. They go out and acquire Jacob Markstrom in the offseason. He got hurt in January. He comes back in March, and it has not been great. Results-wise, I think it's 5-7-1, but that save percentage was at 868. So not ideal, especially going into a series against a Carolina team that has the amount of firepower that they do. So if these two teams were healthy, I think this series would be really good, and I think that the Devils would be very competitive, but they're not. So I don't think they will be. I think Carolina makes a bit of a statement, honestly, in this series with a victory in 5 games, which you can get at plus 300. So that is the story from the Eastern Conference.